It's into
Okay,
that.
no. Well, Nintendo's gonna be the theme for the year on Pixel Power. It's like what's
Basically.
Batman vs Superman's doing on
Should just
cinema views.
rename this like the Nintendo Hour, like the Nintendo Watch Hour.
Live updates of Iwata falling.
We follow him around. It's like Iwata's eating at a fancy restaurant. Can he afford to? Nintendo stock prices are just fucking falling.
Can that segment be called EO Watcha?
Iwata.
Iwata.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pixel Power Podcast. This is episode 4, and I'm your host, Joshua Mobley, and with me for this week is Chris Cortes.
Hello.
Allan, Muir. Are you yeah, okay. I almost called you Alan Rickman for a second. I was like, man, that would have been great if Alan Rickman was on here. He's like, I love video games. And Adnan Riaz. Yo. Anyway, let's just get right into this. Let's start talking about what we need to talk about. For this first segment, of course, I figured we'd knock Nintendo out of the way, even though our mail time segment has to do with Nintendo. So you're gonna get a good Nintendo sandwich this episode.
Iwatcha.
Yeah, Iwatcha 2014. It's like burr 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 burr. Like, he ate a sandwich today.
Can he
afford this sandwich? Nintendo prices dropped 0.001% in stock value. Just kidding. That's not a real story. Don't believe me. This story, actually, this started on Monday, and as of today, or yesterday, this all happened. So, Nintendo announced that it's buying back its stock from the stock market. So it's spending a fuckload of money to buy its stock back from its investors who have lost faith. One of those happens to be the Yamauchi family. A very big, prominent family. If you didn't know, it's, Yamauchi owned a lot of stock in Nintendo. And they're partially the reason why Nintendo even exists in the video game market. And they announced that they're they're selling back all their shares of Nintendo. So as of yesterday, Nintendo bought back $1.1 billion of its own shares, which is, it equates to about 30%, I don't know. Okay, no, I read that wrong. Sorry about that.
Do they not realize they're in financial difficulties? Spending more money buying their stock back.
Well, the board, apparently Iwata is taking half of his salary for 5 months. The board members are seeing cuts of 20 to 30%. And yeah, so they're doing that to kind of afford, they still have a lot of money, but yeah, they don't have to worry about their stock anymore because you can't buy Nintendo stock right now. They're exiting the market. So and I guess for them it kind of makes sense because, the stock market kind of put more pressure on them. Now they don't have to worry as much about being although they're going to make less money, obviously. Because, they just spent $1.1 billion. Which equates to 114.2 billion yen, if you wanted to know. So yeah, the Yamauchi family bought back sold back, I'm mixing it up. Sold back a bunch of, pretty much all their stock, which is, kind of a significant blow since they're, partially, they were huge holders in Nintendo. Yeah, that's the Nintendo update this week. I feel like it might have been the right. I think it was probably the right move, at least for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sucks now, but time will tell.
Yeah.
They ain't dead.
What?
They ain't dead.
Yeah, they're not dead yet. They're not going to be dead for a while. If ever. You never know. But, yeah, Nintendo, it's strange. It's sad to see the giant kind of fall.
Giant?
Yeah, it was like they just. It was kind of cool, even though we had a really awkward point of time, to like gamers like us, with a lot of the shovelware. It was nice seeing Nintendo on top again. It made you kind of remind yourself of the NES and, Super NES days. And now, they're kind of slowly going back to like the GameCube era.
I have a really funny mental image of like a cartoon where it's just like Sonic in a retirement home and Mario comes and joins him. It's like, you two out of a job? Yep.
Yeah, really.
He has like Alzheimer's. It's me, Mario.
Yoshi's at the vets. So we're putting you on a farm. Don't worry.
No, Adnan.
Yoshi breaks his leg. Mario's like, time to put you down.
That's
they get Christopher Nolan to come and work on some of the games.
Jesus Christ.
turn everything dark.
Oh, man. Mario's in a hallway that's spinning, and he's like...
Samus turns up with a Bane mask. Yeah. Does it matter who Nintendo are?
Jesus.
What matters is their plan.
That was good. Doesn't matter what the stock price is anymore. They own all the stock.
We're buying back our stock. It would be painful. For you. Because we're gonna get better.
Jesus Christ. Wow, I feel like there's like nothing else to say about this.
No, it's like,
really,
it kind of speaks for itself.
With Nintendo,
sadly.
The thing is though now, it's just that no one can really predict what they're going to do until E3, if they do anything for E3 this year, or...
I doubt it. Dude,
Nintendo
they're not going to
have
have a... Nintendo Direct's going to happen. Yeah. There's going to be no conference. Not at all. And it's...
Such a shame.
Well, it was kind of smart for them to have no conference because those conferences cost millions of dollars to host. And, yeah. I think E3 this year is going to be very, telling and also just very exciting.
Well, the E3's big focus is going to be Microsoft and Sony.
Well, it always is.
Nintendo really...
It always is.
Yeah, well, I mean, this time around, Nintendo's done no chance of really making themselves heard there. Like, everyone's going to be focused on what Sony's going to put on IP, like their new IPs and stuff. But obviously, there's probably going to be a new Gears of War something at the Xbox One conference. But it's going to be one of the more interesting E3s. Well, we say that every year, but it sounds like it's going to be more interesting. So obviously, it's the first time we're going to with this new console.
Yeah, now we're really going to get into they're not going to be talking about what the console does and how much it's going to cost this year. It's going to be all about what's coming.
Yeah, they'll build up the PlayStation Now stuff and
PlayStation. Yeah, because PlayStation Now is going to launch in the summer. So and E3 always takes place late May, early June. Once it took place in July, I'm pretty sure.
June 1st or something.
I think one year it took place in April. It was so weird.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it took place in April. Because I remember it was the year where they announced the price for the PS3, and they had that original crazy ass boomerang controller, which I thought looked cool. Everybody bitched about it. I thought it looked pretty cool. Apparently, it was somebody who actually got to hold it said it was super comfortable too. But
you could literally kill someone.
you could kill somebody with anything. Don't there's a Gatorade bottle here.
I don't know, the DualShock, I think the DualShock 3 would break before hitting someone. Yeah. It's not really that well sturdy.
It's funny because the boomerang controller, you can kind of see where DualShock 4, got its idea. I don't know, there's something about those handles that reminds me of the old boomerang controller. Yeah. Very,
DualShock
very
4 is so amazing, though.
Hire someone from Australia to do it. Controller. Lads, we need some ideas for the controller, the Australian. Let's make it into a boomerang.
That way when I get mad at Call of Duty, I can throw it and it just comes back.
Take out a kangaroo.
Exactly.
Let's go to a place where everything is made of blocks, where the only limit is your imagination. Let's go wherever you want to go. Climb the tallest mountains. Venture down to the darkest caves.
So, Minecraft. I don't know how many of you guys played this little indie game known as Minecraft?
I have.
Believe it or not me.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
never touched-
it just sold 14 million copies. It just hit on the PC alone, I believe.
Oh,
And that is a big chunk of change for that
Yeah.
game. Still don't own it, but I have played it. And I like it. I like Minecraft.
It's like Lego.
It's fun. Huh?
It's like Lego.
Yeah, it's well, the normal mode is like survival, where you're trying to survive, and you have to like chop down trees and get wood and stuff. And then there's create mode, which is just Legos. And when I played create mode, so I was just at first like, I don't get why this is cool, I was like, why do people like this? And then I built a little house, and then I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. And then I was like, then I was like, now that I've kind of got my bearings, I'll build a bigger house. So I built a bigger house, and then I was like, oh shit. And then I built a giant stone dick, and I was like, I love this game. Yeah, that's the game basically, but it's fun. They also Mojang announced. Well, I don't know if they announced, but they found out how much they make per day on average off Minecraft. They make $300,000 a day.
Oh God.
Off Minecraft. Now, a lot of that doesn't come from the games, obviously. A lot of it comes from just licensing, because there's backpacks and shirts and all that good stuff. Yeah, they're making lots of bank on the Minecrafts. You know what I really want? I just want Minecraft to be on Vita. Like, that's all I want.
It'll eventually make its way there.
It will,
Yeah.
but that game just seems like I have a long commute, and that game just seems perfect for my commute.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to play on my couch.
Kept you waiting, huh?
So, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is coming out next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks pretty. Yeah. Apparently it's only 2 hours long, according to Game Informer.
Yeah.
So the quote, I guess the quote is, it took them just less than 2 hours to get through the main campaign, and then they were doing other kind of side missions, because this is the first, open world Metal Gear we're getting. Right. And there's little there's side missions to do, and then you can do main missions. And they said that in their 2 hour play, they completed the campaign and were able to do some side stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So people are kind of upset about that because they think it's too short. I don't. And then apparently the Phantom Pain is hundreds of times larger than Ground Zeroes.
The thing is though with the Phantom Pain, it's going to be on its own. Like it's a really weird chunk that he's doing here at this point in terms of the story, because this could have just literally been on the end of Peace Walker from the sounds of it. You could just go straight into Phantom Pain, because the Phantom Pain just it's going to go through its own period. So that's telling me that's going to be I expect that's going to be his final game he's going to make from the series.
Probably should be.
Yeah, it's got. I think he's got to the point where he wants. Well, with the Game Informer issue, because they're doing the month where they're celebrating it. The magazine looks beautiful, by the way. Yoshi Shinkawa's drawn it. It looks incredible. Well, anyway, he said in the interview, obviously he said again that he wants to quit. And he's like, I want to make sure the mantle's passed on well. And I was like, you don't need to pass it on. It's like, just bury it. It's like, this is your series. You built such an illustrious history behind it. There's no point in someone else trying to take the project on.
Just let it be your swan song, Kojima. Yeah. Get out.
Well, he wants to make other games. He's very some of his ideas are Chris said to me this, some of his ideas are incredible, what he thinks. But But yeah, I want him to finish 5 off, and then that's it. With the 2 though, it's like they said that it's 2 hours the main campaign. Konami speedrunners did it in 5 minutes, saying that a lot of people have speedrun Metal Gear Solid 1 in like an hour.
Yeah, because I bet they skipped all the cutscenes.
But I don't know. I'm not sure about it. It's pretty crazy with the news that's going on. It could be longer though, because I mean, Chris just told me something about the collectibles that leads to unlocking the special mission that you get with the actual game.
Yeah, because I actually have the Game Informer magazine. I read the article. Great article, by the way. It's like 4 segments long, and it talks about like Kojima's life and goals and shit. And anyway, but one of the things that they mentioned was the main storyline can be beaten a little less than 2 hours long. Like, I don't know, I guess like an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. So the main campaign itself is short, as it's always been promised. But the side ops, and all the other, collectible things, because apparently there's these things you can collect, and if you get them all, you unlock, more missions and things like that. So once you've done everything in the game, they say it clocks in around like 4 hours or something like that for a $40 game. Mm-hmm. If you get the boxed next-gen version.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of news that's come out with it. I'm probably going to buy it anyway, because I want to buy it to the rest of the games and play it, obviously. It's short. I don't know. I mean, like, there's so many news stories coming out. I mean, ISO just said that it was not 2 hours. They said that don't even believe those, what's it called? Rumors and whatever. So I'm not sure. Like, I need to, it'll probably be more apparent in half a month when more developers get the chance to play it. Or more journalists, I mean. But in terms of length, it does seem a little bit disappointing, especially when you say it's going to be like its own separate game. It sort of hasn't really fulfilled that kind of role.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a full game. I mean, they're not charging a full price for it. So I guess the download on PS3 and Xbox 360 is going to be $20, and then they I guess there's a digital and a physical version for Xbox One and PS4. Yeah. So the digital version for next gen is $30, and the physical for next gen is $40.
Yeah.
Which I actually don't mind paying a little extra, because it's going to look fucking amazing on my 1080p TV and stuff.
Have you seen the shot that he did where he put the Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3 on all 4 separate TVs all together?
Super noticeable.
The PS4 one looks fucking crazy. Yeah. It really does look incredible.
Well, he said technically the PS4 one is the best looking version.
Yeah. Well, he's always said that he was fond of Sony's innovation and how far they really pushed the console. Because that's why he made MGS1 as well. Because he said when they ushered in the PlayStation 1, he was like I've seen this console, it's incredible, it's revolutionary. I want to build something on it. So I'm not surprised he's got more potential on PlayStation. He has done in the past.
Yeah.
With 3, 4. But yeah,
I was gonna say plus technically isn't PS4 right now the most powerful home console?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of makes sense. If you would get the most, best looking, project from it.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it'll run as well.
No,
at the end of the day. Although it probably will run better. I mean, the PS4 has more RAM also.
Yeah,
right.
Sony's Sony just incredible for building their machines. When you take apart a Sony machine, you realize how brilliant it is. I think we talked about this before. If you took apart Sony TV, you just see how technically well built it is and everything about it. They really are just the innovators of technology.
I remember when my first 360 broke, or it might have been my second or third. It was out of warranty. And my dad is a huge computer guy. He's been around. He was there in the 80s, doing all that shit. And so he was like, you know what, fuck it. There's no warranty. Let's just open this shit up and see if I can fix it. And he opens it, and his first comment was, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, I expect that. Well, the casing wasn't really that nice either on the Xbox. It was just weird. It just didn't look brilliant.
They got better. The newer, the black kind of slimmer Xbox 360s were really good machines.
Yeah. Although it took them long enough to catch up to.
Same with the original. I think the original fat PS3 looked ugly as shit, and it was super bulky and gross. Cool. But then the slim PS3 came along and it's beautiful. Still love that machine. But I think the PS4 is also I was
gonna say I love the sharp, the polished film of PS3. It's all shiny and stuff. It looks cool. Yeah. But anyway, you were saying.
I was gonna say the PS4. Some people complained about the way it looks. I think it looks okay. Like, if I was gonna design it, I probably wouldn't design it that way. I love the light bar, though. I think what throws me off is, like, the one little area where it's, like, shiny. Just seems odd.
Joke? What's
italics?
The joke? They say that, PS4 looks like Xbox One in italics.
In italics, yeah.
Xbox One is bold, and then the...
Xbox One's a horrible machine, how it looks.
It's just a huge fucking VCR.
I would not want to put that in my lounge. It's like, are you still living in the 90s? It's like, yes.
I'm sure right now, as we're talking, like, they're already working
They must be made. If they made a good redesign, I'd buy one.
Yeah.
But it just can't look like a VCR. It should be able to stand up as well. All my consoles stand up. It's just... Oh.
Yeah. Me too. All my consoles stand up because, like, I don't have an entertainment center.
You should just have that versatility of, like, if you want to put your console standing up, you should be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we drifted a bit off topic.
Yeah.
With Ground Zeroes, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, one of the developers came out, one of the lead designers said that, like, it's quality over quantity. I agree with that in most cases, but still 2 hours is, a bit debatable. If he blows me away in 2 hours, then I'll be like, yeah, sure, okay. Like, he has to, like, make it a cross between James Cameron's Terminator and bloody...
You could argue that, DVDs that, like, in Blu-rays and stuff are like $30 and you can play them, like, forever, as much as you want. Like, this, you could argue, and those are like about 2 hours, you could argue this is kind of the same.
You're gonna come back to this quite a bit. I see quite a lot of people playing it quite often. Even if it is short, like, you'll probably come back and play the other chapters, whatever.
I like short games anyway. I feel like short games are the best because...
I even said to Chris that I have such a heavy schedule. It's like, this is perfect.
I can't fucking do, like, 40-hour JRPGs anymore unless it's, like, something I really commit to. Like, if another Final Fantasy comes out, then it's like, okay, I'm committing my entire month to this game,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, when 13 came out, I didn't play anything else for a month until I beat it, And that was it. And now it's like I don't have any need to go back to 13, really, ever.
Yeah, that's what I've done. I've played it once.
Although 7 I've gone back to multiple times. It's so good. Same with 10.
Yes. Yeah.
And in March, when 10 comes back out, totally going back into that on Vita.
It does look nice as well.
It looks beautiful. It looks so good. Some
I've
people were complaining. Huh?
I've heard they've added, like, additional endings to it. To 10 and 10-2. I'm definitely sure I wrote a news story.
They added some, I think what happened is...
Oh, the audio drama.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
I think what they added was, I guess there were more features and cutscenes and stuff in the international version of Final Fantasy X that never made it stateside, and now those are coming stateside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but on top of that, they also recorded, I don't know if the English cast did it, but they recorded an audio drama. It's like an epilogue to the whole thing.
I feel like they don't need that.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. But
I hate 10-2. I'm not even going to play 10-2 anyway. I fucking hate that game. Like, the ending of 10 is perfect the way it is, and then they, like, fuck it
10
up.
10 was a great... Dude, the battle system in 10 was so good.
Yeah, I think 10 has the best battle system.
I've always learned, Josh, the one thing is that you just can't get a satisfying ending from anything. Like I just spoke about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is ever, like, satisfying.
Check out Cinema Views on VGU.TV.
go check that out. You'll hear me tirade about that.
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. The mail's here.
Welcome back to Mail Time, listeners. If you want to get your questions read on the air, you can email us at pixelpower@VGU.TV. That's all one word, no weird underscores or anything. We're not weird like that. Or you can tweet at us. We are at PixelPowerPod. That's PixelPowerPod on Twitter. Our question comes from Albert, and he says, should we really be surprised by Nintendo's recent financial status? I swear to God, every single episode we have to mention Nintendo somehow. But should we be surprised? I would say yes and no. Is my response. Yes, because after the success of the Wii, it seemed like they couldn't be stopped. But when
3DS is still doing pretty well too.
the 3DS is still doing really well. That's another good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, it's gonna be like, well, most companies go through that weird period of like they lose financial profit because of like certain things. You can't completely rely on the 3DS. The 3DS is doing very well, and Nintendo deserve a lot of credit for that. But the problem is that they just neglected the Wii U at the same time.
Right.
So you're gonna like your profits are gonna go down if nobody's buying the home console and supporting the games on there. So
I do think the software is the big issue.
Yeah, the software is the issue because at this point, like how far Sony and Microsoft are really pushing software limits proves like the industry's moving on. Nintendo's backtracking, like it's trying to stay old school without really like.
Well, they are kind of a toy company.
Yeah, they started off like as one of the toy companies, but the thing is though, is that they I think we talked about this in the other podcast where we said that they can push innovation, but they don't like keep with it.
Right.
Because let's say that we're here first, we made this, and then we'll go on to something else and not really take the risks and push like limits. Because I mean, like if Zelda was this Zelda game that's coming out for the Wii U, if it really pushes the limits of what the Wii U could do, people would flock to the console because they can see that the potential titles can do on it, especially when it's Nintendo's homegrown franchises. And it should do as well, because if it's an open world Zelda, full content, like side missions, like I haven't played Assassin's Creed 4, but like I've heard like the missions everywhere along with the main campaign.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like if you didn't want to do the main story, you'd have so much stuff to keep you going throughout the entire thing. That's where it needs to look at. But
yeah,
I'm not surprised. The thing is, well, back to the question. I'm not surprised. Like companies will go through that like weird phase. I mean, people would have been like writing Sony off during the PS3 phase. They're like, oh, the PS3 is producing nothing. There's no content out there.
Yeah. And then Metal Gear happened, and then the slow burn began.
And then, see, exactly, that's the thing though. When you have like that kind of console, which slowly started the flame, and it just like became what it was now.
Right.
That can happen again. You can't write Nintendo off.
Yeah, especially at their investors call, they said that they're really going to start pushing their advertising to say like the gamepad is not like a new thing. Like they're gonna tell consumers that like this is a new console, like, and they want.
Yeah, that's the. Well, I'm sorry. I was gonna say that's the thing. They need to like, make sure people know this is the next generation console.
Yeah,
so that's where it'll be more confusing. Because when Wii U was announced, even I was a bit like, is this just a Wii like changed around? It didn't really have to do like the thing because like
it was easily one of the worst reveals ever at E3.
I'm gonna sound really patronising, but like the PS4 you can distinguish from the PS3 just because of the number. Like you're moving up, so you sort of like know it's the next generation of console. And then the Wii U, and it's just like, is it a new console or not? Like
I even remember asking people back when, way before, like mid last generation, like way before. And we had even been talking about like PS4, Xbox One, or Wii U, like thinking like, what are they gonna do now? It's like, how are they gonna change it? Because they already made the Wii, and that was pretty revolutionary, and they're selling like gangbusters. And I was like, they can't call it like the Wii 2, which is funny because it rhymes with Wii
Super
U.
Wii.
Yeah, I was like, they can't call it the Wii 2 because then people are like, why the fuck would I buy a Wii 2? I already have a Wii, and I'm like, that's a really hard situation for them, and it must be really hard for them because it's like if they abandon the Wii name, people might not care, but if they keep the Wii name, it confuses people. It's like they kind of caught themselves, in a weird space. But I guess people still buy PlayStations and Xboxes, even though they're the next thing. But at the same time, it's like the Wii felt more like a toy, which I don't.
It was niche.
That sounds bad. That sounds bad when I say it like that. Like it felt like a toy, but it felt like
it did though.
Not a normal game console. Like a normal game console is just like the controller and stuff. But
I was gonna say they should call it the Wii Luigi, the new Nintendo character and like console.
They should have just called it the Wii Luigi. That's what they should have called it. The Wii Luigi.
We all know that it's not ironic that the year of Luigi happened to coincide with Nintendo's worst year.
Yeah, and Wada's like, let's keep this ball
Luigi.
rolling, right?
Luigi, it's
Yeah,
Luigi's
fault.
They're gonna write a Luigi off in history now as the reason this happened.
They're
Gonna
kill him
reboot.
off.
Every
this is
single
why-
Luigi.
every single gaming documentary about any like Nintendo, you know, there's always that down point in the documentary,
Yeah.
and then it all turns around. This is gonna be that down point, and then they're like,
This is-
but problems were just on the
You like-
horizon, and it'll be like a picture of Luigi. It's like,
You know, like how they have Nintendo Direct and they have the giant Luigi.
yeah.
You just see him sitting him down, and like Iwata, Reggie, and Miyamoto will be like, "This is why you're always number 2, and you never get the girl, and you never get your own title."
He has his own. He has Daisy, right? Doesn't
Oh
he get
yeah,
Daisy?
exactly. Proves everything though, doesn't it?
Daisy's
Yeah,
kind of
but
like
Daisy was.
He got
Mario.
Daisy when Mario was done with her.
Yeah.
Exactly, he gets sloppy seconds all the time. Never anything better.
See,
Jesus
wouldn't
Christ.
that be a phenomenal game? Like exploring Luigi's psyche, like how fucking like messed up he is internally. He has like that, you know.
He'd-
He's basically
he'd be
the liquid snake of Nintendo. He's like, I hate you, brother.
He'd be in the bar all the time, like just smoking, like just getting started with himself.
He's just like, I remember
Just
back
keep 'em coming.
when I looked exactly like my brother.
I think Chris, you got a point. They should get Hideo Kojima and do a Metal Gear.
Can you
Luigi
imagine?
and Mario.
Can you
Watch
imagine a
Slipper.
Kojima Mario game? It's like you're dead. Take the pill. Like wake back up and.
I would seriously, no joke. If they announced that, I would pre-order immediately.
Just for one, to play
So-
that game, and two, to see Hideo Kojima wreck his name in the industry for 2 reasons, just to see you go play the title.
He already
You-
kind of. I think Kojima had some good ideas for like 1 and 3, like Metal Gear 1 and 3, but like everything he's ever done after that, I don't see what all the buzz is about. Like, there's never really been anything like as crazy as like Meryl's, codec is on the back of the box, and you're like, what? When you first figure that out, or like,
That's crazy.
yeah, the first time that happened, I literally was like, what? Because I was running around for like an hour after fucking, the dying. Well, I forget who it was, but he's like, her codec's on the back of the box. And I'm like, what the fuck box? And I'm looking everywhere. And then eventually I'm looking at the fucking box and I go, what? Because I see the little picture and it's like, Meryl. I'm like, that's fucking nuts. Like, it blew my mind. Like, they've never done that kind of shit before. Like, after that. 3 did some of it. Like, when you...
Well, it's very hard to, like, really... Well, if you repeat breaking the fourth wall, it seems a bit like, tedious. It's only done like on certain points where it's really like interesting. Because when that game did that, and like Psycho Mantis when he was talking,
Yeah, I was gonna say Psycho Mantis
like,
reading your game saves and
yeah,
everything.
because it's really interesting. So that like his first titles took like what films were meant to be when they like broke the fourth wall. So it's like we're like it's looking at you. We're going to talk to you. You do something. But yeah, they've become different. That's the thing there.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Nintendo.
Back to Nintendo.
Anywho.
Yeah, I'm not surprised in a sense because I kind of saw it coming. Like, there's no way they can follow up this success. Like, not everybody who has a Wii, like, most of the people that bought Wii are, like, playing bowling, and that's it,
Yeah.
To be honest, like, that's really why people got it. Like, my mom got a fucking Wii. Like, she doesn't play video games at all. Like, my dad, and my little sister play games all the time. She just never... She was never into that. She always said, like, oh, they make me dizzy and stuff. But as soon as the Wii came out and she saw that bowling, she was like, I want this shit. Like, she had Wii Fit and stuff. Like, I hunted down Wii Fit one Christmas and shit. Like, it was nuts. Like, that thing was a freaking phenomenon. Like, my grandmother, who has no interest in video games whatsoever, like, always wanted to play the Wii, and like they were putting Wiis in retirement homes and all the old people were playing. And it was nuts. Like, and even like people, I was talking to people at work who were like way older than me, were like, oh, I've played the Wii, like that thing is so fun. And it's like, I knew then, I'm like, they're not going to be able to do this again.
Wait.
That's 2014.
Adnan, shut up. I got it.
You got what?
We have to go back to formula.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
And then the podcast died.
Yeah. Now Adnan's having an aneurysm.
If you can see it from a certain way. The Wii was kind of like the arcades back in the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like everybody was playing arcade games and everybody was
And
playing
they were
pinball.
everywhere.
Yeah.
The thing is, with like 2014, right, they'll have Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart, same stuff. That'll move consoles a little bit. My problem is there's still no real content for it. Like, Miyamoto announced a new IP last year. Not heard anything on that since then.
He was just I'm working on something.
Yeah, he's like,
tell you what it is.
Yeah, it's secretly Mario, but like
secretly Mario in space,
it's not,
but
and it's actually Wii Luigi. But
I'm also curious. I'm curious to know because I know back when the NES and like SNES were happening, Nintendo used to be really strict on what came out and when it came out on their console.
Yeah.
And the game had to be like done, Like people would develop games for the NES and then they would come to Nintendo and be like, "This is our game," and Nintendo might just be like, "This doesn't feel like it's right for our platform." And it's like, "Now what? You're fucked." Like
if Nintendo
I'm wondering if they're still doing that. Like is that a big barrier for third-party developers because like
I don't think so.
It's not too hard to get your games on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox these days. Like if you can show that you're following their guidelines, which are not that hard to follow, like I think like you have to have a pause menu, you have to do like a lot of certain specific things. But if you can do all those things and you can be I think all the major console publishers also like you can't be an AO rating, it has to be like M.
Yeah.
Like
that's
M or
bad.
below. If you can get to that, like you can pretty much get on the console. With Nintendo, it seems like super weird. Like, how do you actually get your game on the console? Do they still have that weird, strict kind of thing? And if they do, like, they need to like stop because, especially with the whole indie revolution that's going on right now. Sure, there's a couple of indie games on the Wii U, but can you imagine if like indie developers actually embraced the gamepad? Like, what cool creative stuff they could do with it?
Really cool.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of cool stuff that could be done with it.
Really,
But
any
it doesn't seem like
They can make a-
anyone's
they can make a
doing
cool Star Trek
anything.
game.
What's up?
I said they can make a cool Star Trek game out of the gamepad.
They can make a lot of cool stuff out of the gamepad.
Yeah.
They
They
can
just
make
haven't
so
done
much
it.
No one
cool
wants to
content.
touch it because it's not selling. Like, really, period. I mean, but going back to what you mentioned, Josh, I don't know. I mean, I heard that Microsoft is like the most hardcore when it comes to approval. I think when you're posting something digital, but Nintendo, I mean, hell, that could be the reason why. Maybe
Yeah.
people are like, it's not selling well, it's strict. Why the hell even bother?
Hey,
It's like,
remember when video games crashed and they had to put the Nintendo stamp of approval on it?
Yeah, that was the
that
idea.
changed. That changed. Now it's
But that's not like that anymore. That's because
No,
we
but
have
was it-
regulations. We have industry regulations, and copyright infringement is
Exactly,
heavily
that's what
enforced now. Like this is the thing. Back when video games like first got big, like it was Wild West free market. There were like 5 Donkey Kong clones. Like
Yeah.
they were all over the place, and that's the problem. Is because people were just they'd see Pong, and they're like, well, we can make a Pong clone, call it Pang or whatever, and just
Pang.
Pang, Pew, like
Pang,
whatever
pang,
they could
pong.
call it.
Pong.
And they would just push it out into the market, and they're like, "We'll let the market decide who's the best one." And it's like, yeah, but you flooded it.
That's
the
how
entire
the crash happened.
the entire market got flooded because there was no regulation, like no copyright. They couldn't enforce the copyrights because a lot of the contracts were on like napkins and shit. Like it was insane how bad it was, and that's
I'm
why
watching a number.
that's why it crashed because nobody. There was
like-
so much that nobody cared, and then Nintendo
enough.
saved the day with their regulations. But the
I
problem
could just
now,
imagine them all at like a cafeteria table. And it's like when they're imagining Pac-Man, he picks up the pizza, it's like, we'll steal that, we'll
Yeah.
infuse it with Pong. Pac-Pong.
yeah, Pac Pong. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, the free market almost killed video games, and then regulations Nintendo's regulations kind of saved it. But we're at this cool kind of middle ground now, where there still is some free market kind of stuff, especially in the Steam ecosystem. Like, holy shit! Like the Steam's free market regulated system with item trading and game gifting and stuff is fucking brilliant, and I wish that other people would get on board. I wish like Sony and Microsoft would get on board with that idea. Like, you know, if I unlock something cool in a game, like a PlayStation game, I can trade it with other people for like other things, or I can trade it for like PSN wallet money and Sony can take a cut. Like, I would be so down for that. Oh man. But, you know, that's kind of Steam's thing. But at the same time, we're in this weird middle ground where there are regulations, but they're not as bad as they used to be. And it's because the industry has really grown up and it's got better about copyrights and stuff.
Wouldn't you argue also though, even if it was back like, you know, free market, how it was like during like the Atari era and shit like that, it wouldn't be as, you know, it wouldn't really eat itself, cannibalize itself in the market because it's harder to make games now.
True.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it'd be much harder to clone games. However, there was just in our last episode, me and Mike Powers actually in our Hearthstone segment, we talked about how this game called like Legend of Crouching Dragon or whatever, it was a complete Hearthstone ripoff. And it came out in China and now Blizzard and like that happened, you know. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for like lots of games to get copied. Although Hearthstone is very, and I'm not saying it's like low caliber, like it has high production value, but it's like not visually crazy, you know? Like it's just little tokens and cards and some like particle effects.
It's not AAA.
Yeah. Well, I would say it is AAA. It's Blizzard,
AAA, but it's not like.
I know what you mean. It's not like, you know, somebody recreated Batman Arkham Origins and like changed it up, you know. I get what you're saying, Chris. It makes sense, but at the same time, like it still kind of happens. You know?
With the iPhone. Look at
especially in the iPhone.
Crap. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Jesus Christ.
Although people are starting to get really like people are suing about that. Like Candy Crush people were suing a bunch of other people because they were copying their games. Although the Candy Crush people are still pretty guilty. They're like, "Oh, we're going to copyright the word saga." It's like, "Fuck you. You can't do that."
They've really copyrighted the word candy.
Yeah.
You can't use candy in a video game. It's fucking Candy Crush.
You know what? VGU, let's copyright just the word the. We'll make billions. We'll make billions.
Yeah.
Try not using the word the for a whole day. It's impossible.
The Up at Noon segment where they talked about it was just pure brilliance.
I was there.
Yeah, I know you were.
I was there, man.
That was fun. But yeah, I mean that's crazy. But back to this whole.
I was just gonna say we'd hold the world ransom if we copyrighted the word the.
I think if Nintendo gave out, you know, SDK software development kits for people who don't know what that is. They gave out SDKs to like indie devs and were like, "Hey, make something really cool with the gamepad, and you could put it on, you know, our console just with no, you know."
What's the status on that, by the way? Who's the most lenient when it comes to like developer consoles?
Probably Sony.
Yeah, I've heard Sony.
Microsoft's getting there. Like they're
Sony.
Microsoft
Sony
used to be there.
Look at Sony's digital content. It's pretty much full. They even said they support indie developers. They fucking love gamers being on their console. That's what makes them so successful. They're just like, you want to be a gamer, you want to play like hardcore game, come to our console.
Yeah.
Like they sell it so well, and they don't even have to like overcomplicate it.
It's not self-publishing, but it's close. Like, if you had self-publishing, it would be just crazy, you know, because people do all the copycats. That's what happened with Allan. What you were talking about was like Microsoft had that indie like portal where, you know, people could just develop a game and put it up. But the thing is, no one gave two shits about that because all the games were practically clones. They were all Rumble clones and like hand massagers and like all this weird stupid shit that nobody cared about. What's up?
Sounds nice though.
There were just blatant ripoffs. Like there's a Ghosts and Goblins ripoff.
Oh right.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird.
It literally was Ghosts and Goblins, but with skin something else.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the problem. Like, but here's the thing, though. Like, there were a lot of people trying legit to develop games on there, but they couldn't get noticed. The good thing about Sony's...
I know, I tried.
I tried. The thing about Sony's is it's not completely self-published, but if you do get through the process, which I understand is actually not that hard, like, you just email your local Sony representative, like a specific content representative, and you start talking to them, you send them screenshots, video of your game, and all that, and then they start talking to you, and you have meetings with them, and then if you get approved, which if I understand correctly, like if your game is good enough and gets approved, like you're not in this weird corner, like you're up front on the Sony, you're on the PSN store. Like it's not, it's not in this weird area where nobody cares about. It's like when
corner.
Indie games come out for Vita, like people care. I really care. I love playing indie games on my Vita. That's like my main thing.
It really is all it has going for it right now, which is good and sad at the same time.
The thing is,
although there are some really good big Vita games.
The thing is though, when you understand as well with Sony, it's that they don't need to really compete with Nintendo on the handheld market, because Nintendo's going to control a huge portion of it, and Sony can't really put so much time towards it, like when they had the PS4 and everything else. But they can attract enough people, and like a lot of their innovation on the Vita attracts people, like remote play and whatever. So it means that you don't always have to put your new content out there, because you can always have something from your PS4 streaming on it, or generally. So on their move, it's pretty clever that they use the Vita disadvantage, because the PSP was more of a marketing tool where it was going to go head to head with the DS. It didn't obviously do well. But this time around now it's a bit more clever, because here's remote play. Here you can move all your PlayStation 1 games onto your Vita, or we have a few titles that you can play like Tearaway and just etc. So they've done a very clever move.
There's still big games coming out for the Vita, like Killzone Mercenary came out, which is a really good example.
Was a good game.
The Uncharted Golden Abyss is also really good. Wipeout was actually really good. Some people didn't like Wipeout, but I mean, you get it free now, and when you get it for free and start playing it, there's stuff to unlock, and you're like, wow, this is actually really fun, and I ended up liking that a lot. Gravity Rush is great.
It is very underrated.
It's a little awkward at first, but when you get the hang of it, it's really cool. Yeah, really underrated. They're making a sequel now. There are big, maybe AAA games is a weird term to use for Vita, but there are big games coming out for Vita. The thing is, though, I feel like, people who say there's no games on the Vita are just fucking lying to themselves, because I have 30 fucking Vita games. It's like you're lying to yourself. Like, you're getting tons of free Vita games, and all this cool indie stuff's coming out. Like Stealth Inc. came out. That's freaking awesome. Ollie Ollie came out, which the review should be up this weekend, by the way. Which I like it a lot. It's pretty cool. Cool little game. And there's all kinds of shit coming out for the Vita. It's just small. People expect they want their giant JRPGs, which, to be honest, I could care less. I could care less about. I don't.
That's the thing. They don't really need to give it that much focus, because there's enough content on the Vita. Obviously, as you said, you can't say it's empty, because it's not. You can use remote play, whatever. It has games on there. It has indie support.
And second screen support.
It'll pick up. That's the thing, though. Somebody's not going to just sink it after a year and be like, oh, it's a failure or whatever. It's going to keep developing. It's the entire point of a handheld. Look at the 3DS. It was terrible in its first year. Now it's got a million different games on it that are really big.
3DS is the 3DS is a great example of how to fix the Wii U, because there's so much stuff coming out on the 3DS.
I'm not gonna lie, that's
especially last year. Pokemon came out. We had Zelda, which everybody just could not stop raving about.
Luigi's Mansion,
which was supposed to be pretty good. I actually really dug the original Luigi's Mansion.
See, that's
everyone loves Luigi's Mansion. Everyone. I don't want to. The only time Luigi's been good.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, sorry. I was starting to sound like a techno song. I don't want to say it. I kind of laughed at myself. No, I don't want to kind of go back to the Vita subject, but what you guys just said about how there's so many 3DS games. Last year was an amazing year for 3DS, and it really kind of helped it out. And now that thing, I mean, it's been selling like hotcakes, but now it's going fucking crazy. And that would be a great thing to do on the Vita. But I mean, on the Wii U. But that's the thing. Why can't Vita do something like that? I know it has these games that, as gamers, us, we know about and we look into. But why not do something that could, appeal to us and to everyone else?
I think
release a Zelda or.
I think that's gonna start happening again. I think the problem with it was that when they first pitched the Vita, it was this the console experience on the go. And then people kind of realized they didn't want that as much.
Yeah.
And then as the indie games started coming out, people really got into the Vita, and now like indie devs just they fucking love the Vita. It's like so easy to develop for. And you get to use all these really awesome features. You have the accelerometer, you have the cameras, the touchscreen, like lots of awesome stuff. And then the Vita also now is kind of in this weird spot where it's also this like perfect companion for the PS4. You're like, I want to go play my PS4 in the other room, but you know,
this is the year when the Vita will do its best because it was waiting for the PlayStation 4 to come out.
Yeah,
the PlayStation 4 is really going to put it to its limit. When they showed off remote play, people were screaming at it because they're like, "Oh my god, this is incredible! You can actually like move your game off onto the console."
I've used it; it works great.
It'll pick up now because I think when Sony like has this kind of idea, they sort of keep developing on it. When they realize it can really, push on to the next step, it's sort of like I always find them like at the beginning of a staircase, and they always keep climbing, and they never backtrack because they always see like there's a potential to keep building or something. Which is what they'll do with Vita, because there's no point in throwing it away now because it's doing very well.
Much like much like the PS3, the Vita's gonna be a slow burn. People naysay the Vita. Like, I was a big proponent of the Vita when it came out, and I after playing Uncharted and stuff, I didn't touch the thing for 4 months at all. And then now I play it all the time especially since I have a long commute. Like, I'm still playing Rayman Origins on it because I'm trying to get all this stuff. Like, that game is really challenging but also really fun and looks fucking beautiful on that OLED screen. Like, it looks amazing. And then I have Ollie Ollie, which I really enjoy. And then I have, all these other games that I haven't played, and then I got all my PS1 games and all kinds of stuff. Like, there's lots to do on it. And same with the 3DS. Like, there's a lot of awesome games coming out for it. The Wii U just needs to find some good software. Like, there's not really anything. And people keep saying Smash Brothers is going to save it. I think Smash Brothers will move units, but not a lot.
It'll move units. Mario Kart moves units, but there's nothing really still there.
It's not. I'm not going to go buy a Wii U for Smash Brothers. I'm just going to say that right now.
Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. Have a very nice novelty that they're enjoyable for the first few weeks, and obviously the entire point is that you have to play them with people. The problem is that that will wear off very quickly, and people will be back to like square one. We're like, what? There's nothing here again.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and they really, really need this Zelda title to push soon, or something to push soon.
You mean they'll be back to Formula?
Oh Jesus! I think Smash Brothers could benefit from the fact that Nintendo now finally does DLC, something they never did before.
The problem is with Smash Brothers as well this time around. It's on 3DS. So it's lost its biggest support on the Wii U because people can be like, "I'll just buy it for the 3DS."
Yeah, but aren't they doing a thing where like you can buy one and get both?
Yeah, no, but why? If I had a 3DS,
two different games though, right?
If I had a 3DS, I would buy the 3DS version rather than the Wii U because it'd be like, I'm not going to go buy a console for Super Smash Bros. But I can get it on my 3DS.
This is true.
And they said there's not going to be any crossplay, but the two will affect each other in some way. So I'm assuming they're going to try to find some way to get people to buy them both.
If they wanted to do it right, they got to take a page out of PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, where you buy the fucking $60 game, and inside is the voucher code for the Vita.
That'd be great.
And your save data went between them, so you could go on the road and just pick up, my Kratos is the same level he was on the console version. Now I can keep playing and play more adventure mode and do challenges. I was addicted to that game for a while, and if I think if the new Smash Brothers can do that, then it'll be great. But
I
don't know.
Looked it up, and according to Sakurai, he says that there's no cross-platform play between the two versions because each version will have different stages.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like they're going the Pokemon route in a way, where they're going to be kind of different.
That's stupid.
So it's the same type. So it's the same, exactly the same, and then barring the few.
But that's
other
dumb.
stages.
That's not. That's not smart.
This is the firepower of the Wii.
With PlayStation All Stars, it was the same game. It was toned down a little on Vita, and the only difference was that there were different costumes. So the Vita one had different exclusive costumes than the PS3 one did, which wasn't that big a deal. It doesn't affect the game as much as stages do, because stages are
Yeah, especially
everything
in
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like the whole idea.
I'm
Jesus
baffled
Christ.
why they did that move. The Super Smash Bros. Style should have stayed on the Wii U. Because it was a big selling point. It was like a big way to ship units.
Now people are just going to go buy the 3DS one and not bother.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's what I was.
It's not really going to move consoles that much at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was confused. Because
that's what I was saying. Like, if they can find some way to make buying both of the versions like enticing, like like if you get both versions, and maybe you'll be able to do some cool thing. But like without like, obviously, if they're not going to be doing crossplay, then what else could they do to entice people to get both versions?
I can't imagine
if you own a 3DS, it could be almost like a Trojan horse, and you're like, "Oh man, I love this version. I should get the Wii U version. I'll buy a Wii U."
They probably imagine that'll happen, but it won't.
Yeah, it won't.
I can tell right now it won't.
I can imagine them being back in the boardroom and like, guys, should we go back to the Love Hotels?
This idea is brilliant.
Should we go back to Love Hotel?
Go back to the Love Hotel.
Like I said, sex will sell till the end of time. It will.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway,
just take note that pornos make so much more money, and the budget on that, like $5 maybe. I don't know, how much does the camera cost? Not $5, but it's not. Trust me,
like
it's a lot
$80.
smaller than like the Avengers and shit.
Although Avengers was filmed, like some of the scenes in Avengers were filmed on like an iPhone, apparently.
You're also not getting Scarlett Johansson either, so it's not going to sound
I heard
that much.
that, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I think at least one of the scenes was on an iPhone because they were trying to show off, like, "Hey, dog, look how great the camera is," or whatever.
By Apple.
That's so epic. The Hulk.
It would have been pretty funny if they would have sent Iron Man out into the sky with the Apple logo.
Yeah.
Like light up in his chest. And it's like, okay.
I know that Gorilla's last album, like they put one out like after their last one that was like a small one they did on tour, and it was done completely on an iPad 2.
Oh yeah, it was I heard about that.
I don't remember what it's called, but it had the song "Revolving Doors" on it. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Ironically enough, though, I thought it was garbage. Like I heard it, I'm like, that's impressive.
Yeah, it only had like 3 good songs on it, but still, it was like proof of concept, you know.
Yeah.
But
it's still impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Finish it.
Finish it.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the Pixel Power Podcast. Remember, we are available on YouTube, VGU.TV, and Stitcher. If you want to get your questions read on the air, please email us at pixelpower@VGU.TV. That's all one word, no spaces, no underscores, no weird stuff like that. And remember that you can also tweet at us. You can find us on Twitter. We are at PixelPowerPod. That's PixelPowerPod on Twitter. Once again, all one word, no weird underscores, because we're not weird like that. And remember to check out Green Man Gaming, the only online gaming retailer that pays out royalties to developers whose used games get sold. Once again, bye everybody, and thanks for listening.